Hello.
Hey buddy, how are you?
I'm alright, I'm here. I'm on the corner of Russell and Lonsdale. I'm just pulling up now.
Okay, cool. Russell and Lonsdale or Latrobe?
Oh, where are you, Russell and Latrobe?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. I'll come up.
No. So I'll come to you maybe.
No, I'll come up. I'll come up.
Okay.
I'll turn
Okay,
now.
cool.
Oh my god. It's a disaster
no
already.
worries.
Alright, I'll see you in a minute.
I'm gonna stand in the middle of the road on the bollard and then try and jump in from there. And you should see me in my pink jacket because there's construction happening on if you're coming from Lonsdale towards Latrobe on Russell. Yeah.
No, I'm coming up Russell right now.
Okay. Towards Latrobe from Lonsdale. Yeah.
I'm coming up Russell from Lonsdale. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of construction happening on the left-hand side, so you technically can't pull over. So when you get to the traffic lights, I'll have to just jump in.
All right, you're there now.
Yeah. Can you see me in a pink jacket walking in the middle of the road?
No.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of the road. Are you past Little Lonsdale yet?
Yeah, I'm past Little Lonsdale. I'm coming up near all the bollards. Oh, I see ya. Come over this side. Hang on. Oh,
Yeah.
Here he is,
see what
the
I'm
man.
saying?
Yeah, I see ya.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, who's that skinny
Okay,
bastard?
cool.
Jesus Christ. You're on the Debrief with Dave O'Neill, and I'm just about to pick up Dilruk Jayasinha. Hang on.
Hey, buddy.
I just record it. Here, put that on.
Yeah,
Get straight into it.
Oh, wow. Right. We can do it on the way back, I think, because I'm cancel my other plans.
Well, you cancelled the other plans?
Yeah.
All right, well.
Do you want to just do that?
We'll check in later.
Okay.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, are you still recording?
No. All right, yeah. We'll be in touch. Well, welcome to... we're back on the Debrief with Dave O'Neill and Dilruk Jayasinha, who I think did my first ever one.
Yes, Debrief is back. Am I the first repeat guest as well?
No, Adam Rosenbach. Oaksy's been on about 800 times, don't you, mate? It's not...
Let me have a win.
Mate, you had a... Oh, jeez, I'll get out of this parking spot.
Yeah.
You had a win tonight at the Newport Bowls Club.
Yes, it was a fun gig.
It was great.
It's so funny. We've been sitting outside the Bowls Club for the last 10 minutes, disentangling cords. And they must be wondering, what do these guys not want to leave? Like
they love Newport.
Newport.
But no, you were great. You were fantastic.
Thank you, mate. It was an interesting one where I think normally they regularly have one headliner, but for some reason there were two of us this time.
Double headliner.
So we both had to do 40 each.
Yeah.
Which was we were worried whether it's going to be too long for the crowd. But no, the crowd was ripper.
They were pretty good, but
they're ripper.
Let's be honest. I was your support act, so we can say that. We can say I was your support act.
But it was an interesting. It was really weird because like you smashed for 40 minutes and I've gone, oh shit, they're going to be knackered. Like you have that fear, like the genuine thing of going. And also the clientele, Dave, was a bit, let's say, when you asked who's the youngest person, someone said 60.
Yeah. No, but they were a 29-year-old, I think she said, but they were more 50s, 60s.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
so I
40s.
had a bit of a worry at that point as well. And because you were smashing with the gear from the
growing
80s,
up in the 70s, and 80s.
You could see, the references were. Even there was a new joke which I had not heard before about Luca, who lived on the second floor, or whatever.
Yeah, so that's a Susan Vega song. Do you know
I don't know, but they loved it.
Do you know that song?
No.
My name is Luca. So Susan Vega wasn't big in Sri Lanka? Probably not. Susan Vega was a slightly alternative. I say slightly because she had some massive hits.
Like what?
Luca. Luca, I think it's called.
Well, I see. Have we talked about this, about my bad taste in music?
And also how in Sri Lanka you missed out on sort of alternative music.
Yeah.
Bands like The Cure wouldn't have even...
No. Yeah. I mean, like, I think I'd know some of those, like Boys Don't Cry or whatever, the tune, you know?
Yeah.
But I just didn't, like, have a love for them. David Bowie, right over my head. I think I knew Under Pressure. But
his worst song. Yeah,
is it? It's a good song though.
It's a good song, but he's got so. I'm not a massive Bowie fan, but he's got some great songs.
But because I've started to do like an education thing. I think you spoke to Karl Chandler, comedian Karl Chandler.
He's a music head.
Yeah, so I asked him because he likes Elvis Costello. So I asked him to which album to start with for that. I spoke to comedian Justin Hamilton about Bowie. So I'm up to like I think album number 7 or something. I'm listening to them in a row.
Oh wow!
And Justin Hamilton gave me a book that basically tells you about each album album and each song and stuff. So it's been a nice little educational journey. But no, I don't know Susan Vegas or whatever her name is. Jimmy Vegas? Johnny Vegas.
Johnny Vegas. No, he's a great comic, but Susan Vega was American. She's still playing, singer-songwriter.
So those references were going down really well. But then there's a nice little, when you come back to Luca, and even though I didn't know who the reference was, there was a feel like by that point I got enough context and I was loving it. So I was starting to freak out about how how hard you were crushing, and then I just had to just go, okay, come on, what are the bits that I have? And then I sort of remembered, look, when we do the Comics Lounge and stuff, it's such a mixed bag crowd, you know what I mean? You always is the Comics Lounge in North Melbourne has about 400, 500 people sometimes, and there's no one kind of demographic necessarily.
Oh, but you'd say suburban though. You reckon?
I mean, maybe you'd know better. Like for me, like I'm not very good at picking that, but just in terms of age, at least.
Yeah,
it's really so I just kind of back myself, going, you know what, older people, it's fine. It's the same stuff, you know. It's
and then you're talking about stuff that you talk about yourself as a Sri Lankan. They all love that shit and health stuff you talk about.
Yeah, so I realized that I'll have this year my comedy festival show is about a lot about death and stuff. So I had a fair bit of material that was really working well with older people. So I talk about a particular health scare that I had, and this medical procedure called cystoscopy, where I had a camera go through the penis.
Oh, I'm closing my legs now.
that don't do that. Come on, like just open out, let it all out. Come on, mate. No, I had so it was interesting because after that I did it tonight. I had this bloke come up to me in his 70s and tell me about how he had to get it done 3-4 times a year or something like that because of a particular bad tumor or something. So it was really interesting that I was like, oh cool, I found relatable material to people who was above 40, especially when I did that line about...
He was 70, that bloke, at least.
But doing lines about like they're talking about how I got in that same time got my prostate checked and stuff like that, doing jokes around that was, I think, very relatable to them. So
yeah, when I was a young comic, I used to worry about all that relatable, but then you just realise that you're an entertainer. So even though now I do worry about doing really young crowds, where I go, I'm talking a lot about parenting and stuff, and I just go, I'd much rather have an older crowd.
But you, Dave O'Neill, I would say within the comedy scene would be considered one of the most sort of consistent, versatile comics because you can, you're the Jared Roughhead of the comedy because you do that small, like tiny open mic.
I do anything.
But you're not just do it; you actually go well. Like I've seen. I reckon we did like Comedy Festival Roadshow together 2 years ago, and I noticed your first 1 or 2 jokes might be similar, but then based on that, you will change the set depending on how they reacted to it. Yeah. And then kind of if you feel they're a bit of younger crowd, there's a lot more to do with
younger stuff.
And also I think that stuff with parenting is a really interesting area because even either if you're a kid in there or a young person, you're laughing at yourself or whatever. Your dad. Correct, exactly. Yeah. And then the parents love it because it's their kids,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. But
I wanted to ask you this because I noticed you had about 20 to 25 minutes of just bangers of like just going bang, 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 observation. And then you started, you saved a story for like the halfway mark. Was that intentional? Is that something you go, like, because I always try and think of those things because I worry about stories being something that,
Oh, you know what? I do like to hit them hard and then ease into stuff. Yeah.
Right. Because I think when I did my first ever cruise ship, I probably had 30 minutes of material and they wanted 40, and you're trying to. When I say I had material, but there's a difference between having 2 1-hour festival shows and club material, right?
Exactly.
So it's not like I really had it, but so I started to bring in some old gear or some gear that I knew wasn't punchy, but they kind of padded out, and it was so hard to keep their attention because when it comes to stories, like. Especially if it's got like callbacks and things like that you're referencing throughout the thing. People are so maggoted on cruise ships sometimes that you're like, oh, they didn't hear any of the setup. So
and they're like, what? What's going on?
He's still talking about that same thing. Oh, Jesus, move on, champ, Yeah. So my fear is having too many stories at the top and losing them. So it's almost, I feel like I have to justify myself as a performer, as a comedian first. Get all the heavy laughs out, and then
I reckon it's like being a good band will come on.
Right.
That if they're good, they'll do a hit first or something. Sometimes they do a slow warm up one.
Okay. Yeah,
and then they'll do a hit in their second song, then another one in their third one, another the fourth. And I reckon they'll get to and then in the middle they'll do a few of those fucking album tracks.
Right.
Where people can go to the toilet.
The piss break.
Bit of new stuff. And then they bring it home. That's what. I reckon good comics should do. But I never think about it. But
Yeah,
watching your set seemed to be designed like that. So
okay.
Yeah, you went bang, 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 bang. And then you did a bit of that crowd chat, which was fantastic about citizenship.
The citizenship.
And then the housemate.
Yeah.
And that was more your casual, very funny, but then you ended off with that routine about the
procedure.
Yeah. And then that absolutely brought it home.
So yeah, the bit at the end, the routine, the sister's copy, the dick check. I'm really chuffed that it went well tonight, because I think I was trying to tell you after we finished the gig, that was my closer to my comedy festival show this year.
Yeah.
But I realized there were so many like callbacks from the show peppered throughout the story, that I was actually struggling to get the story to work on its own.
Yeah, that can happen.
And it's taken like a month or so, but I was chuffed that I was able to finish tonight's like a club set essentially after 40 minutes. Have it sort of live on its own.
Oh yeah.
And I guess that's the hope, isn't it? That if I can take there was my closer from last year's show that was in the middle of the show. You know what I mean? Like that bit about me meeting the junkie. That was the closer from last year. So if I can get to the point that, you know, basically the whole 30-40 minute set is just a bunch of closes from each
fantastic.
year. It would be handy, but I don't know if that ever is a realistic, because you sometimes move on from material, isn't it?
Yeah, you sometimes do, but I tell you what, sometimes you bring it back and you go, fuck, why have I stopped doing that?
Right.
Or someone in the street goes, oh, I love you, you do that bit about, and you're like, oh my God, I've forgotten that.
Right. I had someone tell me, I saw you at Spleen 3 years ago. And I was like, oh, cool. And she goes, I actually remember what you did. I was like, oh, shit, what did I do? And she says, I don't know how to put this, but at one point you were fucking Swanston Street. I said, what? She goes, and then it hit me. Oh, yeah, I had this really bizarre kind of, what's the word? Like,
flashback.
No, it was a crass bit, but also at the same time, the context of it was about how I live in this high-rise building in the city, and how, like, this view of the city I have near my bed and blah, blah, blah. But then the whole idea is, like, I'm bragging about how well off I am, but at the same time, I revealed that I'm really lonely, and I just find myself spooning the window.
Oh, yeah.
And I end up, like, having sex with Swanston Street. And it was just so funny that the way she said it, I went, nah, I think you got the wrong guy. I don't remember fucking Swanston Street.
Swanston Street.
But after she said it, I was like, well, that was 3 years ago. I still was like, maybe I wonder if I can go back. Because
that's funny.
That bit didn't work. It worked 50-50. You know, sometimes you have bits that you keep doing because it worked a few times really well, and you're like, oh, this is it. This is the big centerpiece.
Closer.
But no, it kind of started becoming really inconsistent. But also, it's just when you do really crass stuff, I found for me, especially like that was in my second show. Like it took me a while to realize that to have an awareness of how I look. Like I don't look like a you know what I mean, like a crass sort of filthy comedy, like you're talking about jizzing down Swanston Street or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit too unsettling.
It's too graphic.
But there are some comics who do it well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was inspired by those guys, and I was like, oh, cool, I want to be more like that person or whatever. And I remember specifically my second year show, I was like a Frankenstein of different comics. Like,
really?
Just not the material's all mine, but the way I delivered it within the show changed. You know what I mean? At one point, I was like, you know, if I was talking about being rich or whatever, it would be like, oh, it's like Gleason, you know, when he talks down to the crowd. Or if I talk about my family, it was like Fiona. Like I found a lot of like so much of my people I was watching at the time was just getting influenced by, but. I think once you start to realize what your voice is and who you are, what you make funny, what you can make funny.
Yeah.
So that's why now at the top I do talk about how ridiculous I look. Like I look very happy.
Look very happy, and you're very affable.
Because I think it's true as well. Like I think I genuinely.
Yeah, you do. You look like an ad for diversity at a university.
But it hit me how much how much I love it, because I was sitting watching you and I was laughing my head off, and I went, oh fuck, I forgot I'm still after work. Like, you know, it felt like I was in the crowd just enjoying the night, because I used to come and watch you at like the Urban Backpackers. You remember that place called Urban Central or whatever?
Yeah, there was a fight when I was on once.
Right? Oh, actual fight.
Yeah, an actual fight.
I think you've told me. Tell me again. So
someone was kicking the seat of the guy in front of him.
So you're headlining?
Yeah. Well, headlining at a Backpackers, not exactly.
Right.
Someone asked me to do a Backpackers like just 2 days ago, and I just went, oh.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Who books it?
It's David Rhodes. And he goes, I said, mate, I've done backpackers. He sent me some photos and I just got shivers going. That looks like urban. That looks like the other backpackers I've done because
MIB or something.
They're often free to get in.
Right.
And they're just disparate. They're a bit disparate because people are like, why is that guy got a mic? I can't understand him. I'm not from here.
Yeah.
So anyway, the guy kept kicking the guy and he turned around and went, hey, mate, stop kicking me seat.
Oh, so, yeah.
And then I think they were British and he said, stop kicking me seat. I'm like, oh, yeah, stop kicking his seat. And then he kicked it again and then he turned around and punched him and the guy fell backwards off the seat. Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, this is great, backpackers. Anyway, I got to go back up to my room.
Yeah.
There's a Swedish girl wants to talk to me.
Turns out he was the actor on after you.
Yeah.
But do you remember MIB, Melbourne International Backpackers, that used to be on the corner of Franklin and Elizabeth Street?
I reckon I only did that once.
Yeah, it was.
I only did that once. That was brutal.
Very brutal. It was my second ever gig. Was there, and it was there. Now it's a high rise. This huge. I think it's called the Lighthouse in Melbourne, and there's so many stories about it. So one of the things, if people can picture this at listening at home, there's the stage, and on either side of the stage were the dunnies. So anyone who wanted just keeping coming in and out. So it's so distracting for the performer. But once when this guy was there's next to the stage were pot plants, and this bloke was so pissed once that he walked to the dunnies, he couldn't get there, so he just flopped out and did urinated on the plant while the comic's on stage. So we have a very glamorous life sometimes.
Yeah.
But you've been... sorry.
Around here, we used to do a pub around here. We're just near the docks in sort of Footscray around here, and we're just driving through it. There used to be a pub here in West Melbourne called Mulcahy's, where I started out, and that was similar. But they were dock workers would come, and the stage was next to the doors, and so there'd be blokes in high vis smoking. You could smoke back then in pubs, and they'd just be walking, going, yeah, anyway, I had the bloody container on the, and they just walk in and look at us and go, what the fuck? Why is that guy on stage ruining our night?
So you were part of the era that had smoking and then smoking taken away.
Yeah.
Were people doing heaps of material about it at one point?
Yeah. Well, you see, enjoying the non-smoking section, because seriously, that's where my wife coined the phrase. She used to work at the comedy club as a waitress,
right?
And I was supporting David Strasman, and she'd say, "Look, it's like
the puppet guy."
Yeah, it was like gorillas in the mist. All the audience, just this mist of smoke. Everyone fucking smoked. In the 90s. They're all smoking.
And all that passive smoking couldn't have been...
it wouldn't be good.
Were you ever a smoker?
No. Not tobacco.
He's got a green support here.
Okay,
what do you reckon about the Greens wanting to legalize marijuana?
I've got mixed feelings.
What are your mixed thoughts?
Well, I mean, I used to smoke marijuana a little bit, and my wife claims I was addicted when I met her.
Well, the cops are onto you, man. This is on this has been recorded. That's the end. Imagine if you're the first person they make an example of by locking Dave O'Neill up.
But the problem was that the marijuana we used to get was homegrown by, my brother or one of his friends.
Glenn?
It was very weak. Not Glenn, but Mark, the naughtier brother.
Oh, okay.
In the 80s.
He grew his own?
Yeah, in the backyard. My dad used to water it next to the tomato plants. Kev would water it. And anyway...
Oh my god!
What are you doing? Your
my
Apple Watch is going off.
My Apple Watch just said, it's the Siri just came on.
It's a booty call. Man.
No, it's not. It's
Apple Watch is talking to you. So anyway, but the marijuana they get these days is incredibly strong,
right?
Because it's all hydro grown and stuff. So I'd be worried about. I still know people that had too much of that shit.
Yeah,
and they never come back. They get affected. You get affected by it. Some people's brains can't handle it. Basically.
Right.
And so if you've got some kind of schizophrenia, that it's not good.
Right.
It's really bad.
Well, I had some for the first time in like 2 years or so. A month ago.
And Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. Well, it was just because I was like, I've been off the grog now 2 years, nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was just post comedy festival, and I was just a little bit like, I don't know, I just wanted to, I looked at my calendar, there was nothing on the calendar the next day for the first time. I was like, this is nice.
Up a spliff, man.
Yeah, so I found a friend of mine who I knew who could get it for me. And then I ended up like smoking with them, and like she had 3, we shared like 3 joints, and she was she was really fucked, and I wasn't feeling anything, and I was like,
"Oh, that's interesting."
This is kind of embarrassing, and maybe I just was not really sure what was happening, so I just told her, And then she goes, "Oh, show me how you're doing it." And then turns out I've been doing it wrong.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So I was just inhaling it and blowing it out straight away like a cigar.
Yeah.
So she's like, "No, you idiot. Oh, we wasted 3 joints." So then we did one proper, but she told me about inhaling and holding it in. And then, yeah. So then, but then I think it actually hit me too quickly. Like, I felt like I went from 0 to 100 because I was like trying to like play catch up or whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't, like, I don't think I really enjoyed a gradual build. And
the problem with it, then you get really hungry too.
so luckily I had Uber Eats coming.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as we started, I got like a Uber Eats, some curry, like butter chicken. Oh man,
that's the problem. You get really fat too.
Man, it was the best. So, but so it was good enough for me to kind of go, look, I just need a little bit of something like a release, and
yeah, that was it for one night only.
Yeah.
That's probably a way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just mentioned my brother Glenn, my Swiss brother who lives in Switzerland. They had marijuana shops over there. It's legal over there.
in Switzerland.
Yeah, so in the railway station there was a marijuana shop.
In the railway station.
Railway station.
So, but they look like they've got a grasp on it, though, isn't it? Once you legalize it, doesn't it feel like things are a little bit more like not police, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
it's good because it takes the criminality out of the
yeah,
drugs.
and then you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
So, what are your positive and negative? So, what's your negative? You're just worried about it being.
I worry about it being too addictive and it affecting people's mental space.
You
And I mean,
would-
also alcohol is.
But that's
it's
the thing,
arguably
yeah.
a worse drug.
Well, that's my only thing.
Yeah.
Even though I don't drink or smoke, really, I would say it's just a weird thing to have no to weed.
I think get rid of alcohol, get rid of marijuana, just hand out heroin to everyone on a Friday. Then the world would just be full of junkies. Like pilots would be on fucking the gear.
That is
Everyone would be on the gear.
the
Okay.
spoken by Dave O'Neill for the O'Neill party. You must have seen, without naming names, you would have seen heaps of people come up through the scene, not from heroin necessarily, but I mean, there's obviously
Drugs.
famous stuff. But in terms of marijuana specifically,
Yeah, they used
there's a comic that I talked to who used to live with Husey.
Oh, yeah,
and he was saying how the two of them started together, and he was saying how he can see where Hughes is at. The reason where Hughes is at and where this bloke was at was because when we were in get our dole check, we would go get marijuana and smoke bongs in the living room. Well, it was Hughesy, he'd be on the phone trying to get onto Hey and stuff like that.
And writing jokes, he'd be writing jokes. Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, marijuana's bad for motivation too, I reckon.
Yeah.
Really affects your motivation. So you've lost a lot of weight.
I have lost a lot of weight.
So how many kilos have you lost?
So it's now in June, 1st of June. So it's about 5 months. I've lost about 26 kilos.
Wow. So what are you down to now?
So 96. So I was down to, I was about 123, 120.
That's
Oh yeah,
amazing.
120 was more, maybe like 28. Yeah.
So what are the main things you did?
So me and comedian Ben Lomas. Have you had him on the Debrief?
Oh God.
Oh Jesus, where did that cyclist come
He was a
from?
bloody food delivery guy. Nearly wiped him out.
You know-
No, I haven't done a gig with Lomas. I love Lomas, but I haven't had him on. No, I haven't done a gig with him for a
So
while.
Ben Lomas and I is a comedian who's Melbourne-based, but he's a fantastic, hilarious guy. He and I both struggle with weight, a lot of yo-yoing, and we were both around the 120 kilo mark.
Yeah, that's bigger than me.
Yeah,
that's
we were,
big.
and we had a bet to see who can get under 100 kilos.
Yeah.
Get under 100 kilos, which because neither of us had done it in like 2 decades. We hadn't been double digits for so long.
And you do this podcast now.
So we do it. We decided to document it on a podcast called Fitbet Pod. So like Fitbit, but Fitbet, and it was for $1,000. And I actually genuinely think it's a great podcast, especially the first few weeks. Now, since then the bet's over, maybe I won't give away what happens. But we both lose a lot of weight, and it's a really, I would say the first, maybe 8 or something like that, where it's following the progress is a really fun one, specifically because it's like there's such a race to the finish. Like both of us come in each week with and we do a weigh-in to see. So it was every 2 weeks we'd record the pod, and it gets, man, without giving too much away, it gets extremely
competitive.
Like the last episode of the weigh-in was fucking. We couldn't have scripted it. Like I kind of want to tell you. I might as well tell you. Well, should I tell you? Oh,
Yeah,
I don't want your listeners to get spoilers though. If they're going to go
Do you
to
weigh
it.
the same or something?
No. So what happened is, okay, so we go from 100, he was 119, I was 120, right? I'm just going to quickly wrap it up. And we also had a clause that if the person who didn't win is within, so the first person to under 1,000 wins, under 100 wins, $1,000. But if the other guy is within 5 kilos, it's 500. So it gives you some motivation to keep at it, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So he gets to 106, I'm down to 104. And we say, okay, 2 weeks later, we're going to weigh in again. And then he comes in 2 weeks later and he gets down to 99 point something.
Whoa.
So he's lost 6.2 kilos in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. So basically for me it was like 99.8. For me to make it 1,000 versus 500, I had to be under 94 point something, right? 94.8.
Yeah.
And then I came in at 10.2 kilos I lost in 2 weeks.
What? How can you lose 10 kilos in 2 weeks?
I'm on the right here.
Okay,
So you do
I can.
you do a hook turn?
No, I'll drop. I know what I'm doing. I'll do a
cool.
U-turn.
Oh, sweet. So
I'm a dodgy driver.
Oh yeah.
So how did you lose 10 kilos in 2 weeks?
So I would say about 3 or 4 kilos was water weight, right? So would have been like the UFC fighters, where they do they cut weight for their weigh-ins and they add it. So I did a bit of that action. So I researched and saw how they did that, but I didn't. It was only for the last week that I did this, where I drank 4 liters of water, 6 liters of waters for 4 days, and then on the last day just kind of stopped, dehydrated myself a little bit. So I wasn't.
That's what bodybuilders do.
Yeah. So I wasn't causing any damage because I was overhydrated for those 4 days. And then on the last day, just went to a sauna and sweated it all out. So I was just pissing water and just sweating water. So that's about 3 kilos there. But there's still about 7 kilos that, was genuine weight loss, which was from basically I just found out about fat burning exercises. If you want to know the research, it's basically you need to try and keep your heart rate between 50 and 70.
Yeah, right. So you
percent.
get puffed, don't you?
Yeah, you don't. If you shouldn't get too. If you get too puffed, then you're burning muscle or something like that instead of
I don't
the
think
fat.
that would happen with me. I think I'd be right with that.
Yeah.
But what about food? You must have cut down on your food.
So with food as well, I was eating really lean stuff. So I had I was following a diet by a guy called Tim Ferriss. He's the guy.
I know Tim Ferriss. Yeah,
he wrote the 4-Hour
I don't
Work
know
Week.
him, but I'm reading one of his
do
books
some
at the
gigs with him.
moment. Yeah, Tim Ferriss.
Which book are you reading? The 4-Hour Body for Work Week?
I bought one of his books at a second-hand shop where he interviews people.
And he's taking the best stuff, chats.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So he has a podcast, and based on the podcast,
yeah, I've heard his podcast.
Yeah, so
but he's a bit nuts. He's a guy who has a death clock next to his bed.
What's a death clock?
A death clock is where they work out how many days they've got to live approximately, and it counts down your days.
Oh, what
so if you work
fuck?
out, so you're a
yeah.
Sri Lankan man, you could average man of your weight will live to 85. Then you work out how many days, and you put on. So you wake up and you go, "Oh, I've got 2,000 days to go. All right, here we." Yeah,
2,000. That's depressing.
He talks to other people that've got them next to their beds too.
Yeah,
the guy who founded Google, or some of those guys have them.
So what's the benefit? It makes you appreciate the day a lot more.
Mate, all those guys are all about saying no to things. You got to learn how to say no. Like for this podcast, for instance, they would say...
You want me to say no to the podcast?
Yeah. So you go,
Did you ask him to be on Debrief and he goes, no, Dave.
No, because they could use their time better to, just focus. I find him interesting, though. He's got some great
that's the thing.
points.
He's like a human experiment, right? He does all these tests and stuff to try and find the hacks in life.
Yes.
And then based on that, he wrote out a whole book called The 4-Hour Body.
I should get that,
which basically the diet, very simply, is you don't have complex carbs for the week. So you have you still need carbs, and you get it through lentils and beans and stuff like that.
Yeah, so no
pulses.
bread.
So no bread, no pasta, no rice. But here's the thing. Let me get to it, champion.
Yeah.
You can, on the 7th day, you can have a cheat day. So that way you don't feel like you have to give it up permanently. So on my cheat day, so I've started documenting on Fitbet Pod Instagram account. I document all the food I eat. So I actually show the fact I'm having bacon and salmon and poached eggs and some really cool breakfasts and stuff.
Every day.
But then on the 7th day I will go crazy and have KFC. I'll have Macca's. I catch up almost for the whole week.
Yeah,
but that one day doesn't make you put on everything you
really?
like. Yeah, it's weird.
It's interesting.
It's the science behind it, I believe, and this could be all
you know what? You could be a good candidate for a Weight Watchers ad.
Man, I'll take
the
it.
new Magda.
I'll do it.
Didn't Kenny do? Shane Jacobson did one.
Man, I'm more than happy. I'll take anyone's money at this point. I'm going through an interesting phase, though, if you want to talk about this. I'm finding it really hard to do jokes that I had about my weight now.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. Tonight you do something and you grab your gut. You still have a little bit of a gut, enough to make it work.
Well, this is.
I reckon.
Normally in the show, I just sort of point at my gut and move it around.
No, you lift it up.
I have to lift it up now because no one. It's like it's not. The visual gag doesn't quite work anymore.
I know.
It's so
But still,
funny, right? Like
yeah.
it's funny that it's like a. I'm so desperate for my 40-minute set that I still need that validation of like, hey guys, I'm still funny and fat. I had this realization.
I reckon your face has got more expressive though. Since you've lost a bit of weight, you've got more. You use your face. Maybe it's just you've developed as a performer or something, but your face is definitely more expressive.
It's probably to do with the fat, right? Like,
I reckon.
Yeah, because it's like
I
if you've got heaps of fat, kind of squeezing your face in, maybe. But like, because you don't have a fat face, you have a thin face. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got a fat
like,
face. Yeah,
no, like you got the chin.
I got the chin.
But
going.
the face is like you don't have puffy cheeks. I mean.
No. Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Sorry.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what I mean. It's not like your cheeks are fat necessarily.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I would say definitely I found it really challenging to be able to still do jokes about being fat. Because I still have about 10 kilos to go. It's not like I'm skinny necessarily.
Yeah.
So I thought I was completely allowed to, but apparently not. It's just the joke stopped working. So I've had to now build this context to it as saying I was fat. So the initial stage, I thought I still can get away with it, but people stopped laughing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we just didn't work.
How funny is that?
So, yeah, it's just there was like one of the jokes specifically was the one about how I have if I smile on my iPhone, the cheek hangs up on the call. All right, that was one that's as quickly as I'd say it back then.
That's very funny.
But now it doesn't work because my cheeks don't look like they're capable of doing it.
Yeah.
So I have to do this whole thing at the start where I say, I have this New Year's resolution or whatever, and the start of the year, and I give them context.
That's right.
And I have to tell them I created a fake doctor who had to tell me to lose weight and stuff like that. You know, like I'm just like having to make people think that he must have been really big at the time. So then it's like you start painting a bigger picture. So then I have these other stories about like the aeroplane like getting wedged in. But that was a bit I already had, but I brought it forward just so that more people can understand how big I was at one point. Because it's weird that they don't buy into it. If I just go straight into the gag,
yeah, they won't.
Like so, it's the same jokes. It's still the same jokes. I just have to paint a fatter picture.
Yeah. Paint a fatter picture.
But 2 years ago, I had this thing where I decided, oh man, so much of my material is about fat jokes, so I stopped doing it because I was worried that subconsciously. Do you ever worry about it?
Yeah.
Like that we keep feeding the beast over and over?
People do say that. I reckon people say that. Dilruk Jayasinha, I've been talking about weight loss, all sorts of things. Okay, so I'll ask you my questions. I don't think I asked you these. No. So what went well tonight and why, you reckon, Dilruk?
I think definitely the stuff about medical procedures worked much better than most play. I think it's because it's so much more relatable or whatever. But also, I think just genuinely kind of just bringing them into the party.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Making it. I felt like because I was freaking out a bit because, like I told you before, that how great you were going, and I'm like, oh fuck, no. But it was like it's genuinely like you worry about how tired they're going to be.
Of course you do.
And it was a long break.
Who wants to go on last?
And it's like a 20-minute break afterwards.
It's Friday night.
Friday night. They were a bit looser. Like there was a couple of people chatting at the back during. So all those were going through my head, and I just went, oh no, come on! Like, and it was when I was watching.
You're in good form though. You've obviously been doing a lot of gigs.
I've just been off the back of a comedy festival roadshow. But to be fair, I don't really take the foot off the pedal too much because of that. Because I'm too scared about falling off. You know what I mean? So I try and even like as soon as festival finished, I think I booked 2 gigs on the Monday night or something like that.
Oh wow!
I just because I again look at it going, that's the best form I'm going to be in. I might as well try.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
But so I reckon that probably went well.
What didn't go well? You reckon?
I wondered. Did you feel if you were watching it all, like
I watched it all,
the stuff about Islam, about my having a Muslim mum, took them a bit to warm up. I felt like they started getting a bit uncomfortable. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. It was a very white crowd, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's probably.
But they're sort of left leaning.
I don't know. So what happened is I felt like that as soon as I mentioned Pauline Hanson and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't think they're supporters necessarily,
no, more,
but they just felt like. like I don't know, there was something really. I think they were worried about where I was going to go with it.
Yeah. They
I
get
mean?
self-conscious for you, I reckon.
Yeah, and I wonder, and it's one of those bits I would go my safest bits. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is easy. It's a bit, it's a little bit of a hot topic, but at the same time, it's still a silly joke about having a Muslim mum, right?
Yeah.
But then I think once I sort of gave a bit more stories about having a
into
Buddhist father and stuff like that, then they got really into it.
Yeah.
But I reckon that first bit about Islam, which normally is fine, they kind of back. And I don't know, tell me if you think this makes sense. I felt like as soon as the first few didn't work, I think I had fear in my voice.
Oh, okay,
so,
interesting.
So I wonder whether because I stopped believing in the bit because of how,
See, a lot of those people don't know any Muslim people.
Yeah.
Even though there's a lot of Muslims live in Newport. But,
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big community there.
Is it face Mecca specifically?
None of them were there.
Yeah, exactly.
Were there any organisational hazards that got in the way of the gig?
Yeah, I would say there was no music on before we walked on.
Yeah.
That's a weird feeling,
There was music
isn't it?
when we came off, though.
There was a sound guy.
I know.
There was a sound guy in a booth.
It was at a bowls club, so you do have the
he's a
toilets
sweet guy.
up.
No, he was really sweet
Yeah,
because
he
he came
was
and asked me,
nice.
do I have any sound cues, anything? I said, oh man,
no.
nothing, just music been before now. He goes, no worries. And he missed yours. And I
Yeah,
thought,
he
okay,
missed
maybe he kind of thought, oh, okay, look, he just had a couple of technical issues. Oh, was my mic on at the start? I felt like my mic had a bit of a...
maybe not.
I felt like the first I had to click it in a bit more.
Oh, okay.
So there might have been a couple of work hazards. What did you feel like?
No, well, it's funny because, the toilets too were funny because the toilets are sort of near the male toilets are near the stage, like the old backpackers.
Yeah, and there was a great moment where the MC was talking about pedophiles, and you walk out of the toilets just at that point.
Yeah, and I said in a loud voice, "Oh yeah, talking about pedophiles," as I walk out of the toilet.
Yeah, he got a huge laugh again. I was like, "Come on, man, leave some laughter for me." What did you find was worked well and what didn't work well?
I do one bit where I talk about pedophiles, and that didn't go well at all, which I
Yeah.
often find with an older crowd. It can really stop the room. You're just like, nah, mate, come on. And it's just a joke. But anyway.
It was about the Scouts?
So, no, it was
See,
about...
that Scouts bit is really funny where you talked about how the 20 cents.
Bob a job,
Yeah, that is so funny.
That's
Do
just
you reckon...
suggested pedophiles. They love that. That was suggested...
It was
about how Scouts... Yeah, it was true. As 10-year-old boys, we would be sent out to the community to knock on people's doors where we would do the thing called Bob a job. We'd do jobs for 20 cents each.
Yeah. And then later when you talked about the public telephone being 20 cents, I thought there was some kind of connection there.
Oh, I should have thought of that.
I reckon there's something about that where...
Oh my God,
you
that's
have
a good connection.
Well, see, you heard it on the debrief. If you see Dave O'Neill do a massive callback, and you just give a little shout, just point towards Sri Lanka and say thank you.
How can we do better next time?
What do you think technically? Any issues for you?
No. How can we do better next time?
How can we do better next time? I reckon I would just relax a bit more.
Tell the sound guy. No, you were fantastic. You're world class.
Oh, thank you, mate. No, but
how many rounds of applause did you get? I thought they were going to give you a
yeah.
standing ovation at the end.
Oh, really?
I was getting that vibe.
Wow. Thank you, man.
I was getting that vibe, but then they didn't. I should have started it myself.
Oh, do you want to talk about this to finish off? At the end, she did a raffle.
Oh, yeah.
And then it sounded like she said...
This is Stella, the MC and the organizer.
Yeah, it was really sweet and lovely. And she said... we're going to do a raffle, and she must have said, but how about another round of applause?
Dilruk
and Dave, yeah. And Dave said to me, I think she wants us to go and pull the numbers from the raffle.
That's right.
So I lead the charge, and she starts looking at me going, what do you do? Why are you coming back on
she
stage?
She stopped talking to the crowd and did that, what do you want?
What do you want? And then I look back, and Dave's nowhere near me.
No, I dropped the ball.
He saw what happened, and he just let me to go to get slaughtered out.
After you do an amazing 40-minute set, you're just
it was so awkward having to like...
And then you're like the needy child.
I know!
What do you want to do? Oh, he wants to come back on. What do you want, an encore? I don't know what's... Poor Stella didn't know what's going on.
So I pulled out the raffle ticket and I stood there like a loser. But she couldn't read the numbers, so I had to read the numbers out.
And then she goes, make sure he's got the right ticket though.
Yeah. Oh,
so
man.
You had to check the ticket off.
Oh, God. Thanks for that, man.
Yeah, that was
I
great.
wouldn't have even done it. You were the one who said, "Oh, she wants us up there," and then
I
you
hate that. I do gigs all the time. Well, not all the time. Where you do a killer set at a footy club, and the guy goes, "Can you help us auction 10 items?" And then by the end, everyone's talking, and you're like, "I know they just think I'm some fucking idiot."
Yeah.
Whereas I was a legend 10 minutes ago.
yeah. You so quickly lose the respect. But you also, you saw a lot of merch and stuff today. That was
I sold
good.
at least 20 books.
It was
which
amazing.
Great. Yeah,
it was amazing.
Great.
It was a really fun night. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Thanks.
It's really
you can see Dilruk and follow him on Twitter. And
Twitter,
and
Instagram.
the podcast against the
when do you reckon this is going to come out?
It's come out next week.
Oh, cool. Can I plug the Logies?
Oh, yeah, you got nominated.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Well, I've got nominated for the best new talent or whatever
That's
for the
amazing.
Logies, which is pretty crazy, and I'm so excited about it. But yeah, it would be great if anyone who's listening who's never
Vote.
a lot of people don't vote anymore.
But looking at that field of people,
Yeah.
who are the other 4 people?
So there's
knew
two
one of
from
them.
Bachelor.
Yeah, see,
there's
that's
Maddie
hard.
Johnson and someone
Maddie.
else, and Sam Frost who did the radio show with Rove. They're very popular, those people.
Matty J.
So they're on some. I think.
But you're the only comedian.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder if the comedy community can get behind it.
Probably not.
To be honest, I can't really.
I'm talking about the comedians.
Yeah,
but
the ones we know. Yeah.
The fans will.
Yeah, hopefully. But look, to be honest, I feel like if a win would be greedy, because let's be honest, no one expected me to get nominated in the first place. So that's pretty cool. The fact that there was,
Yeah, because you come from a whole list of people, don't you? There's about 30 or 20 on some
there's about
list,
30
isn't there?
people that are eligible for the category,
Yeah.
and then it gets narrowed down to 5, and then there's a voting process after that. So I don't know what's gonna for me. Genuinely though, it's just exciting that I get to go to the Logies and
it's
stuff like
great.
that. Have you been?
I've been, you know what? I've done the red carpet a lot, which is not going to the Logies. It's just turning up, standing in the cold. All your friends, your contemporaries walk down.
What's your advice for me?
Susie, come here, give me a vox pop.
Right.
But then I went once when I did Tractor Monkeys. Yeah, we went and sat on
With Merrick?
with Merrick and Monty, and we sat with Adam Hills and his mum
Oh,
on
okay.
a table down the front.
Was he a Gold Logie nominee that year?
Yeah, I think he
Because
was.
you're only allowed to bring a guest if you're a Gold Logie nominee.
Yeah.
Because I was going to put on Tinder looking for a date for the Logies.
man.
just to see what'll happen.
No, it's great. You know
No,
what you
I
got to
won't do that.
The
I was
best-
like, yeah.
Someone said to me, come into the smoking room. I'm like, what do you mean? This is a Crown Casino.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Gold Coast.
Yes.
So, and they'll have there was a room where you were allowed to smoke.
Right.
Now, I'm not a smoker, but I walk in and Molly Meldrum's there. He offered me a cigarette. I had to take it.
Jazz cigarette?
No, it was a proper one. And then all those chefs were in there. Manu was in there. Colin Barr, all those guys, all the chefs were smoking basically.
Right.
And that was good fun. But
So the chefs are pretty rock and roll more than we think, yeah?
they are.
A lot of you hear about that Anthony Bourdain,
All those guys. But yeah, you'll have a great time.
Man, so I'm looking forward to it. But I got to get a suit sorted out and stuff like that,
great.
which is again going back to the weight loss thing.
Just don't get offended when you walk down the red carpet and no one really wants to take a photo with you.
Fair enough, yeah.
So just hook on to someone famous. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I grabbed on with Matt Preston or something like that. And
Yeah.
Come on, 2 fat guys. Come on, get a photo with us. Come on. And he's like, he's a good guy. Oh, yeah, sure, Dave. Let's come in the photo. The worst thing is you'd be with an attractive girl and the photographer would actually physically push you out the way.
Yeah.
Mate, just step away from the girl.
I had that when I did the Actor Awards last year. I got to walk the red carpet for that. But Actor is what used to be the AFIs. And Rachel Griffiths was
wow.
a little bit in front of me or whatever. And the guys I was just sort of standing. You kind of meant to try and, in case they want to take photos of you or whatever. It's humiliating when they don't care. They're like, just keep moving. I'm like, oh fuck, all right, man. I know I'm no one. This is a suit that I got from Kmart. No one knows it. It looked like a good suit.
When I went to the afters once and I walked down with Celia and Luke.
Yeah, for
They must have been
Rosehaven.
doing Rosehaven.
Yeah. So
But
they're both
again-
they're nominated as well, Best Actress, Best Actor.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Then again, people did ask me to step away from them, mate. Just step. I don't know. Are you their driver? Just step away from the two stars. What are you doing, mate?
Well, technically, you are my driver today.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
Mate, thank you so much for
Nice.
having me. So if I play, and also Fitbed Pod, anyone
Fitbed.
who please go do listen to Fitbed. It's a really. But since then we also have a lot of guests come in as well. So we
Yeah.
want to try and get Dave on as a guest.
as a current fatty.
Yeah. But buddy, thank you so much, man.
No thing. Good to see you, Dork.